All right, so welcome to the first kind of Mac OS X video. I'm obviously in the storage room, which is why there's all the boxes. It does make this nice kind of halo glow. Anyway, I'll get rid of this video soon, so you don't have to see me. You just have to hear me. What I'm going to do today is give you an overview of your Mac. Okay, essentially what this is, what all this thing does, the dock, and basically how to drive it and how to steer your way around it. Because what you'll find is it's actually really easy. It's just you kind of got to know which buttons to press and what they do. So that's what this video is for. It's going to be pretty short, and I'll do a series of these on other parts of the operating system as well. So it's a Mac, obviously. If we go into the top up here. About this Mac. So OS X that's just the operating system. So like you've got Windows 7, Windows 8, that's what Apple call theirs. It's called OS X, which is the 10th version. So that's your computer. If you go into more info here, you can see each computer has its own unique serial number, version, that's the stats as well. And in terms of service, all of these have AppleCare. So you can actually go in and see exactly your AppleCare support. So you've got 3 years. So, on the holidays, for instance, if you have any technical problems, I'll give you Michelle's mobile number. But other than that, you can call Apple and they'll have your serial number, so they'll be able to help you out straight away. Hi. Sorry, I stole Joanne's chair too, so she just wants it back. It's good. All right, cool. And also, if you have any kind of hardware issues too over the holidays, again, call Michelle, or you can just take it into an Apple store and they'll sort it out for you. So that's your Mac. But let's kind of have a quick look here. So obviously, I'm recording this screen, and I'll show you how to do that in a second as well. So when you turn it on, you'll be greeted to your desktop, and this thing down here is called the dock. Okay, now you'll see there's a bunch of icons. If you leave your mouse over them, they'll say what they are. These aren't the programs. They're kind of like your shortcuts, so you can actually get rid of those. If I hold it out for too long, disappears. Or you can put ones in there, essentially. So the first thing you can do with your dock is if you right-click it, and now right-click by default. If we go into the System Preferences, I'm going to do this the very first one, and we go into Trackpad, which is that one here. That's your trackpad, which is what I'm using at the moment. If we tap on that, you can see at the moment you actually have to click to make a mouse press, but the first thing I recommend you do is turn that on. And so now you can actually just tap the actual the trackpad as opposed to clicking. So that'll save you, over the course of the next 50 years, that'll save you about 20 minutes. So that's really good. And you can also see, in Apple fashion, everything you do, it has like a little video. It shows you exactly how it works. So the trackpad's actually really powerful. So it's kind of like your iPad. You have multi-touch. You can use 3 fingers, 4 fingers. You've got pinch and zooming as well. Now, another thing as well that you might get a little bit tricky of when you first use it is Apple use what's called natural scrolling, which means, how can I explain this? Basically, up is down and down is up. Let me go into a document and I'll explain what that means, because that would probably be the first one that'll be a little bit confusing if you've been using Windows for a long time. So what I'm doing here to scroll is I'm pushing up to scroll and pulling down to scroll up. Okay, so it's kind of like pushing a piece of paper. So it's like your iPad. So I would suggest using it because I think it is more natural, but if it is really freaking you out, you can turn that off and it'll go back to, say, your Windows version. But you can see you can zoom in, and by pinching you can zoom out. You can smart zoom, which will actually zoom in the whole screen. So again, if you've got this on your interactive whiteboard and you want to highlight a certain area, you can double tap with 2 fingers and you can actually zoom in on a section of screen, which I'll show you as well. And of course, you can rotate with 2 fingers too. So you can do a lot with the trackpad, which is why I didn't bother with a mouse. So the trackpad can do stacks. You can also swipe between pages with 2 fingers. You can swipe between full screen apps with 4 fingers, which I'll explain all that kind of stuff as well. Notification center by sliding off the screen. So that one little trackpad will do a lot of stuff. Okay, so yeah, the very first thing I put tap to click on. So anyway, here we go. So here is your dock. And like I said, you can add stuff in there. If you do a 2-finger tap, okay, so 2-finger tap is like right click. You can go into your dock preferences and you can actually change this a little bit if you want to. You can bring the size of it down, okay. Magnification will do this, so you can scroll and you can change the magnification. You can have it on the left of the screen if you want to, okay, the bottom. And the last one is you can also automatically show and hide that dock. So it gives you a little bit more space and the dock will appear when you come down. Okay, so they're kind of your first settings. I'll just turn that off for now, that you can have a play with. All right, so here's our dock. All right, so everything in here is essentially a shortcut to the programs that are currently on the Mac. So I'm just going to bring this dock back up again. So again, dock preferences, and I'm going to bring that size up so I can make it nice and clear. There we go. So everything in here is just basically a shortcut to your apps. Okay, so if I hit Pages here, it's going to load Pages up, and I'm going to close that down as well. So there are obviously more apps on your Mac than there is down there. So if I go into Launchpad is kind of like there we go. It's kind of like when you look at your iPad screen and all the apps are sitting there. So that's Launchpad, which is down the bottom there. And it'll show you all the apps that are currently installed. You can see I've got 2 dots. And what I'm doing is I'm using 2 fingers to swipe between them. So here are the apps here. You'll also notice we've got Word, Excel, PowerPoint. If you want to use those, they're still there as well. And if I say open an app, I'm going to use Word as an example. You'll get this like on your iPad. Your apps are going to ask permission for things. And again, always say yes. This is the first time that I'm using Office on the Mac, so you need to actually put some of these details in. So I'm just going to put my details in. We don't need to worry about a company name. And sure, whatever. No. So because these programs are the first time that they're going to be used on each of your Macs, you'll see those. So we'll just kind of start this up here. And what you'll see now is Word will be sitting there in the dock, okay, because we're actually loading it up. So again, first time it loads, it's a little bit longer. And there we go. So we'll just continue that, and we'll do a blank template. So now we're in Word here, okay, and you can see it sitting down. Now if I close this, all right, it's still sitting there, okay. So the one thing that the OS X or the Mac does is it kind of keeps these programs in memory, so you can open them again really quickly. So if I open that, there it is there. So it'll still be sitting there, and you'll actually see, so I'll close the X. And another thing you'll see here is obviously your traffic lights with Windows, they're over here, but with the Mac, they're on the left, okay? Your cross closes that program, but still keeps it in memory, okay? Your little yellow will minimize it, and you'll see it'll shrink down into the right here, okay? Tap that, it'll come back up. And your green plus will maximize. But what it does, it's called Smart Maximize. So you can see it didn't fill the screen. It just fills the stuff that you need to see that you're working on. So that's what that plus does there. And it'll vary from app to app. So you can see in Word, it will give you that full screen view or that one page view. You can obviously use your mouse too and make it bigger if you want to. So we'll close that down. And again, it's still sitting there. You can quit programs altogether. If I have my program running in the dock, you'll see little lights on there, which means it's actually still kind of in memory. So if I 2-finger tap that one, I can quit that, and it's gone. And you'll see it actually disappears from the dock there. It's not in there. So again, if you want to find Word, there it is there in your Launchpad, okay? And we'll click on that, and you can see how quick it is now to load because we've actually loaded it the first time. If you want to keep it in the dock, so say it's something you use a lot, okay, and you want to just have it in this handy little dock down here, while it's open, you can kind of 2-finger tap that and do options and keep in dock if you like. Or the easier way to do something like that is I will quit Word. So again, 2-finger tap and quit. If I open my Launchpad and I'm like, yeah, I use Word a lot. If I click that, okay, so I've just got it clicked and I'm using 1 finger to move, I'm going to place it down here, and you can see your dock automatically moves to fit it in there. And whoops, I didn't want to do that. Okay, sorry. So yeah, so you grab it here, you move it down, and you'll see your dock will move to make space for it, and you can put it anywhere you want. All right, I'm going to put it just behind Pages and let go, and now it's in that dock. So when I get out, it's now sitting in my shortcut dock. So again, you can move it. Numbers, I'm never going to do Excel, so gone. And it's gone from the dock there. So it doesn't delete it, it just takes it out of your shortcuts here. So that's your dock, okay? Up the top here, you'll also have your title bar, up here, your menu. So every app in the dock also has a bar up here. So what you'll see up here is, for instance, I'm in Finder now. So Finder is, say, Windows Explorer. It's what you look at on your computer. You can see everything that's sitting on your computer in your applications. So they're your actual programs itself. You'll notice that all the applications, like your iPad, are just one simple app. There's no installing, it's just an app. Your desktop, obviously, I've got nothing on there. Documents, so I can increase this. So whenever you see the arrows, you can obviously increase this stuff here. Your documents and your downloads. Okay, so I'll go into documents. Then here is your view options. So again, you can see it as just icons. You can see it as your details. You have this hierarchy here, so you can actually go in as you go. So you can do that, or you can use cover flow, and which is handy if you have a lot of images. So I'm just going to put it in details. And that is your Finder. So you'll see it also, Finder itself has some options up here. And again, you don't really need to access these. These are kind of more detailed stuff, more power viewing stuff. So that's your desktop, and that's where you find everything. When you plug in USBs, hard drives, all that kind of stuff, they'll just show up here under devices, and they'll show up down the side there. And also you'll see them on the dock here as well. So if we keep looking at the top here, you've got a couple of other things. We've got that's for your Promethean. So for your, I'm just going to turn Wi-Fi on. Sorry. That's for your interactive whiteboards. That's for time machine backup, which I'll talk about later. Your Bluetooth, your Wi-Fi, your volume, and your battery power. So you can see here, I've got 7 hours remaining. Now this battery will, basically, it will last about 12, 13 hours depending on what you're doing. It actually knows what I'm doing. So at the moment, I'm actually recording the screen, so that's using up a little bit more battery power. So it knows, well, if you do that, I've only got 7 hours. But the second I stop recording, it'll increase that. So that power will always kind of fluctuate back and forth. But essentially, you've got up to 12, 13 hours of general usage on this before the battery needs to go flat. Then you've got your date. Your last two up here, your little spotlight. Now this is kind of like on the iPad where you two-finger pull down and you can find something. Spotlight will search for everything. So let's just say, oh, you've forgotten where Word is and you want to use Word. If I type in Word, it'll bring up everything that has to do with Word, and it'll do the top hit, which is the program, but it'll also do other things like documents that are written in Word format. It'll look up on the internet. It'll search things that have it in there. So your Finder will basically find everything. Okay, so that's really, really handy as well. And this one up here is your notifications, which we don't have any notifications at the moment. That's your top bar. All right, so the other one that's really important, and I would have told you all of this when I handed the Macs out, is your little Apple icon up here, is your location. So with this is really only for the internet, because at school, obviously we have certain things, firewalls and stuff with the internet. So to save that and make it a lot easier, I've just made some locations. So when you're at school, make sure your location is on school and the internet will work. And when you're at home, flick it to home. You may find at home, the school one still works at home, but it depends on, your Wi-Fi routers and stuff. So to be safe, flick it on home when you're at home, flick it on school when you're at school. And that's only for the internet. So again, if you're at school and the internet's not working, flick it to school. And that's probably the main thing that you need to use. So that's kind of your intro into what we're doing here. And now I think we'll go into a few more other things as well. So we've talked about Launchpad. We've talked about all our apps here. Okay, we've talked about finding our other apps. Okay, and again, I'm just using 2 fingers to scroll here. So 1 finger to move around, 2 fingers to scroll. And we'll get out here. You also have a list of buttons on your keyboard from F1 to F12 that will do shortcuts. So for instance, F3 shows you all your windows, and I'll explain how windows work in a second. F4, again, goes into those apps and shows you where those apps are. 5 and 6 change the brightness on the keyboard, so the keyboard actually lights up, which is handy if you're doing work in bed. You've got volume controls, you've got your actual volume here as well, you've got a mute, and you've got your power button. And that's your top bar. Other than that, the keyboard's pretty much exactly the same. You've got a command button, which has a little square. That is kind of like your Windows button. So if you're used to, like, say, that Windows key and doing stuff, it's now the command key. Okay, and that command key is also, again, in Windows, where you used to do Control V, Control C to copy and paste. It's now Command V, Command C. So there you go. And last one is your help up here. So you can search for help, and it's pretty good in terms of what you want to do. So let's just say doc. It'll do stuff like this. So like it'll actually show you where that section of help is, and it'll go straight to it. So the help is really handy, and in each app, the help will be slightly different as well. So let's start playing with some apps to show you how to kind of run this thing as well. So we might just open up Pages, because I really like Pages. So Pages, again, it's the same as the one on your iPad. Okay, you see you've got a whole bunch of options here. I'm going to just quickly do an essay. All right, I'm not going to show you how to use Pages. That'll be another video. But you can see here I've got Pages running, and it's in a window, and off I go. I might also I'll open up my calendar. Okay, and again, we'll subscribe to all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to have my calendar sitting over here. I'm going to open up the App Store, and I'm going to open up, what else do I have in here? Let me open up Word. I'll open up a few apps. Okay, so now everything's kind of sitting here running. So you can see we're starting to take up a bit of space on the screen here. Okay, if you press the F3 key, again, you'll see it will show you every app that you're running at the moment, and you'll see the apps there. So that's F3. All right, or you can be a little bit fancy, and you can use 4 fingers and scroll up, and it'll do the same thing. So you can jump between your apps that way. You've got your command tab, so I'm going to press that, and you'll see a list of the icons that you're running through. So you can command tab straight into that program as well. All right, and again, or you can just tap to kind of go through these. Now, one cool thing that Mac does is called Windows, essentially. So, or basically, it makes a new screen. So you can see up here, if I click my X, like I said, it closes that down. Okay, but Pages are still running, so I can bring it back up. I didn't save. My yellow will minimize it and put it in the dock here. And my green will maximize that. Again, it's maximizing it to what it sees. So it's not filling up it's not maximizing it and filling all this space because it doesn't need that space. So it's being clever and it's just maximizing it to here. But then on the far right, you'll see you've got these two arrows, okay? And if I hover over there for a while, and even if I just click that once, okay, you can see now what it's done. It's taken up the whole screen. And so this is like if you would connect another monitor. So it's now made Pages like on a separate screen altogether, okay? And what I can do now, if I get 4 fingers on the trackpad and I actually swipe, you'll see that I can swipe back to that screen, okay? So I can work here, but if I 4-finger swipe back, now I've got Pages on a whole separate screen. So now I'm kind of focused and I'm in that mode, but I can swipe back. And you can do that to every app. So I can have my calendar, and I can just swipe back in. I can have my app store. Really handy with, say, things like email and iMessage. You know, you can have one screen that is just your communication, and so you can swipe between them. So I might go between my app store, swipe again, here's my calendar, swipe again, here's my program, here's Pages that I'm working on, and you can swipe between it. So you can have multiples, and you can do that with pretty much every app will allow you to do that. Word as well, full screen there, it switches across, and now I've got all of these screens running. And they'll also work, so you'll see the dock will appear on those individual screens too. So it's kind of like you're plugging in separate monitors into your Mac. Now, if I use my 4 fingers and scroll up, you'll see all my extra desktops that I've got here and with the app. And or if I hit a plus, I can make a new desktop, and here's desktop 2. So I can swipe between, and you can have unlimited screens. So really, really handy. And also, there's your widgets. These are just little kind of fun little shortcuts, calendars. I'll add another one in here, let's say sticky notes, and we'll just drop my sticky notes there. These are just little shortcuts, little apps that can run from your screen. So again, if I do 4 fingers and push up, you'll see all my different apps that are running, okay? And I'll go back into Pages, and here we go here. And that's just, again, to make things clearer. Nice and clean. It doesn't take up much space on the screen, and you're in one app and you can focus. And whenever you want to slide, you can just 4-finger slide in between them to check it out, or 4-finger pulled it up and jump into another one. So it's like having separate monitors, okay? If you want to get out of that, okay, you're like, oh no, I want this back on my main screen, all you need to do is be in that app and press escape, and you'll see it'll pinch back down and go back onto that desktop. So let's go into Word, hit escape, and now it's back. And if I hit plus, it'll shrink it back down. And so now it's down here. So if you've ever lost a program, you may have just made it full screen and you're not on that screen anymore. So again, 4 fingers, push up, you'll see how many screens you've got. And if you hold these down, we can get rid of these if we don't want them. Okay, so we'll get rid of that screen. I'm going to get rid of that screen. You can get rid of all of these. Again, hit escape. We'll go back. Hit escape. We'll go back. Hit escape. And we'll go back. So now you can see we're just running on that one screen and everything's here. So I can close all those down and off I go. So that's how you work with screens, essentially. So we're back into Pages. All right, we can start working again. So I'm using 2 fingers to scroll up. I'm pushing up to go down and down to go up. All right, again, I know it's a bit tricky, but get used to that one because that's really fun. It's fun, but it's easier. And I'm going to just quickly do stuff just to show you how saving works. Okay, so I'm working away here. If I hit close, it's going to ask straight away to save. Okay, so you can't accidentally not save something. It's going to choose where you want to save it, and we'll put it in to documents and save that, and away we go. Okay, and that's all pretty straightforward. And that is your first kind of introduction. After this, I might go into a few more details. Actually, I'll do them now. We'll do one video. Okay, so let's go into system preferences. Okay, so system preferences is basically the whole setup of the Mac. Okay, that's how you can change things around, all your details, logging into iCloud, all of that kind of stuff is all in system preferences. And we'll just tap on that. And here it is here. So everything in here is all your settings. So we've got something like general, where you can change kind of how everything looks, you know, the colors and stuff like that. To go back, we can hit back. Okay, or if we go into an option here and do show all, it'll go back to your system preferences. You've got your desktop and screensaver. You know, you can print, a giant picture of me and put it in your desktop. That'd be lovely. You can choose whatever you want there, obviously. Personalize it so it's easier. And then you've got your screensaver as well. You can do whatever you want with your screensavers. And finally, you've got a thing called hot corners. Now, these are really handy. So with a hot corner, it allows you to set something up. So let's just say, put display to sleep. So what I'm saying here is if I move my mouse to that corner, it's going to put the display to sleep. Like so, okay? So hopefully that is still recording. And you can do other things like, Launchpad or desktop, or you can open it, the screensaver just by moving it to a certain corner. So that could be handy if you're working on something that you don't want anybody to see. Someone comes in, you just move your mouse there and it puts it to sleep. Okay, so let's go back to show all. Your dock, they were your dock preferences. We went through those. Mission control. Okay, this is basically showing you what all of these apps do. I wouldn't worry about messing with mission control. You don't need to. Language and region. So again, depending on what you want to do, by default, we've got English here. Because your Macs are all set as default, what I would do is probably add in some other languages if you want to. We've got Japanese, obviously we've got Arabic in here as well, and we should also have Australian English. So we're going to add that. Okay, and we're going to say use it as primary. So it's saying which language you like to use as your primary language. We'll use Australian English. It just means that the operating system has spell checking and all that kind of stuff built into it. It'll use the Australian spellings of certain words. So I would have that as your main language. And then we'll do show all. But again, you can add more in here as well. So as an example, I will add in, let's add in one that we might use. Where's Arabic? I'm going to add that. So really easy to add. I'm going to probably use Australian English still. You can pick your Arabic keyboard. So I'm going to add that. So now we have Arabic here, and you'll see it's added a flag in the corner. So that way I can switch between Arabic and Australian on the fly. And oops, we'll go back to Australian. On the fly. So you can change your keyboards, you can change everything between the languages. You can also change the actual font of the computer and the language of the computer. So if I switch this to Arabic, all of this language will change to Arabic as well. Okay. Show all. I'm not going to restart because I'm not going to change it just now. Security and privacy. This is all set up for you, so I wouldn't worry too much about this. The only one that I recommend that you should do will be this one here. Okay, so you've all got a password, and that password is your login that you've always used. But what happens if I close the screen? It'll basically put my Mac to sleep, and if I open it, it'll start straight away. But what we want to do for security is have a password here. Okay, so you just check that box, and what it means is whenever you close the lid and open it, you'll need to put your password back in again, or whenever your screensaver starts, you need to put your password back in again. Okay, so that's just a handy thing to have for whenever you have your Mac lying around so no student can actually get into it. Go back to show all. Spotlight. Okay, again, don't need to worry about Spotlight preferences. Notifications. Okay, so this is, again, like your iPad, certain apps will use notifications like iMessage. You get a message, it'll pop up there. Again, that changes those. Displays. Okay, so this one here is for your actual display. The Mac itself will always be set to its best display. If you use one of these, the dongles that you got, okay, that's for connecting into your interactive whiteboards. When you plug that in, you'll actually have another option here to mirror your displays. And again, by default, it'll do that. So you don't need to play around too much with that. Energy saver, leave that. Again, it's already set pretty much how you need to. Keyboard lets you change your keyboard settings. Your mouse, if you plug in a mouse, okay, it'll won't have anything like if you plug a mouse in, but when you plug in a mouse, you'll have settings for left click, right click. Trackpad we already went through. Printers and scanners. Okay, I will have the staff printer and everything working, and I'll run you through printers in a separate video. Sound, again, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, iCloud. So this is really important. So you all have your Apple IDs, and you've signed up obviously with iTunes, and those Apple IDs are set up on your iPad as well. So what I want to do is have those Apple IDs on your Mac so they're linked together. So you can do a lot of things on your MacBook, which will be linked to your iPad and vice versa. So you can do documents on here, and then now on your iPad. You can do documents on your iPad and then now on your Mac. So everything syncs together, which is really, really handy. Okay, so all you need to do is sign in with your Apple ID and password here. So I will do that with mine, and I'll sign in. And so what it'll do is it'll now set up your iCloud details here. Everything's ticked, so we'll do next here. We want to do Find My Mac. Now, this is for your iCloud keychain. Now, I've been telling people not to worry about that. So iCloud keychain allows you to save your passwords. If you save passwords on your Mac, they will also work on your iPad. They'll work on your phone, so that way you don't have to keep remembering them. Now, you're at school, so I'm not sure if you want to have all those kind of details automatically saved. So, look, it's up to you. I personally probably wouldn't do it for my school machine because, you know, if I'm using my personal iCloud account anyway, those passwords are going to show up here. So we can cancel that as an option. Find My Mac, yes, we want to allow that. And this is going to ask for your admin. Now, you're all admins now, so you will type in your admin details. I'll type in mine. Now, your admin details are just your normal username and logins. And there you can see everything's linked here. So my photos, my documents and data, Safari notes, everything's going to be linked from my Mac to any of my devices. So my mail accounts, contacts, if I add a contact in on my Mac, it'll be synced across to my iPad. Calendar dates, reminders, notes, Safari, so web pages you've looked at, or your photos as well. They can be linked between the two and Find My Mac. So that's your iCloud details there. Really, really handy. So, in fact, everyone will need to set that up. If you have any trouble, let me know and I'll help you set up your iCloud details, because it'll allow us to do a whole lot more, especially when it comes to things like iMessaging and stuff like that too. It's iCloud, very important. Internet accounts, that one you don't really need to worry about because we've got everything working at school, so don't stress too much about that one. Oops, I just closed down my settings. We'll go back. Your network, again, that's all set up here already, so you don't need to worry about that. Bluetooth and sharing, again, is all set up. User and groups, you don't need to worry about. Parental controls, you don't need to worry about. App Store, you don't need to worry about. Dictation and speech, okay, you can actually see here that it's not turned on. How dictation works is it just basically uses Siri. So if I turn dictation on, we can use advanced dictation, okay, and it'll actually download it. So we'll say yes for that, and it'll start downloading it. I'm not going to worry about it now. And you will have, we'll turn that on. Now you'll have dictation. So now you can open up a Pages document and you can dictate the entire document. It's actually really, really good. Unlike Siri, it doesn't actually need to use the internet and go back and forth, so it'll dictate on the fly. So that's your dictation. You might want to turn that on. Text to speech as well is the same as the iPad there. So we'll go back to show all. Date and time, You don't need any of these settings you don't have to worry about. These settings you don't have to worry about either. Your Mac's already been set up, so it'll read all kinds of hard drives. So if you have a Windows hard drive, you can plug that in as well, and it will read it and write to it too, just like a normal Windows machine will. So you're pretty much handy with that. And then finally, there's Time Machine, which is how you do your Time Machine backups, which I will do as a separate video. So that is your system preferences. I'll just go back to show all here and close. So that is probably your main starting point with your Mac. Again, everything down here in your dock, you can take it, you can leave it. You probably just have to get used to a few things like having these in the left and the right, and that multiple windows again, so you use the full screen control up here, you know, which way to scroll, those kind of things. I mean, you're just kind of driving it a little bit differently now. So once you get your head around that, you've got the next 2 weeks, obviously, over the holidays to have a play with this, and then on the Monday we'll have Apple coming down to do some good workshops with you. But that's pretty much it. That's basically the main stuff I can think about with your Mac. Oh, obviously, sorry, we've got down here your trash. So whenever you delete anything, it'll go to the trash first, so you can undelete it, and then to delete it for good, you need to empty the trash. So again, like your Windows. And then we've got a download folder here, so you can actually just add folders into your dock. So if I go into downloads, I'm going to go into here. It's just going to open up preview, and it's just going to show you about, there's that document sec there. So if I actually want to delete something, I'll show you really quick. So we'll go into here. I'll open it in my Finder. So I hit delete, nothing happens. Okay, so what you need to do is either drag it into the trash or command delete. But what we're doing here, we'll just drag it into the trash. So it basically, again, it makes it harder for you to accidentally delete stuff. And we're just going to drag it into the trash. And now it's in the trash, and you'll see your trash is full, and 2-click, and there we go, to empty that trash. So that was a right click, so 2 fingers to right click, and we can empty the trash and chuck stuff out. So it just sits there just in case. And yeah, and that's about it. You'll notice, obviously, on the Mac, you don't have a CD drive anymore. We're probably really not using DVD CDs much anymore, but if you do need to use a DVD in class, we'll have what's called remote disk set up, which means we'll have a DVD drive on the server, so we can access the disc from there. But what might be easier is just put in a request, and we can put those DVDs or CDs on the server, so you can access them from the network as well. Oh, and speaking of which, you should have, when I set these up, you'll have all your network paths down here, where I set you up to your certain folders that you need. But if you ever need to go to the network and explore the entire network, all right, all you need to do is go into Finder. So again, Finder is your Windows Explorer. Go, and you've got Connect to Server down the bottom here. We're going to connect that, and this should all be sitting already on your Macs. But if it's not, it's just SMB NT Server. Connect there. Now I'm in the. I don't know if I can get access. Oh, I can. Cool. And then I'm going to choose Admin Docs, and you'll see down here you have your NT Server. Going to connect, and you'll see everything that's on the server as well. So again, being in the archive room, I probably don't have the best Wi-Fi coverage, so there we go, and you can see everything there just in case you need to access it. And yeah, that's about it. Like I said, there are lots of other little things that you can do, but we'll go into those a little bit later, and there'll be a whole bunch more videos up on the course. This is kind of your intro to kind of get your head into it, and then from there I'll do lots of little other things. You know, for instance, we'll get all iMessage working, and I'll show you how you can communicate with iMessage with everyone in the school really, really easily to send files. You can just drop a file, and it'll appear straight on their Mac, so no more emailing anymore. Everything is just iMessage, and they'll appear on their Mac, it'll appear on their iPad, you'll get a notification. Those kind of things are really quick. Or if you just want to send cat pictures to Jess, we'll talk about that in a separate video. But again, I'm not going to bog you down too much just yet. I want you to have a play around with this so you can kind of get familiar. But the main things is jump in here, set up your iCloud details, turn that on, Okay, turn on iCloud, and also we'll kick iMessages up here. A few of these apps like iMessage will ask you for, again, your Apple ID and password, so you can use those as well. So definitely use your iMessages. I'll talk about that later, but set all that kind of stuff up and we can start communicating with staff. So that's the first video. And finally, if you're interested in how you can actually record these, again, simply open here. You've got your programs in here. This uses QuickTime. So you can see in here QuickTime, or if we get out of here and we use our Finder, we type in QuickTime, it comes up. All right, and QuickTime has a built-in screen recorder. So if I go into this here and do new screen recording, you can see if I just start this, I can go in options, I can use my built-in mouse and also show mouse clicks in recording. And if I hit record, it's now going to record this entire screen as a video as well. So that's your screen recording, and I'm not going to worry about using that right now. And that's it. So that's the first video. If you have any questions, give us a shout. But that's your overview of your Mac and how to drive it. And I'll go into more detail with the other ones later. So again, log in, play around, log into your iCloud, put your Apple ID in that, and also put your Apple IDs into things like iMessage and FaceTime, and then we'll start doing a lot more. All right, cool. Good luck. See you later. Bye.